I've been looking forward to this conversation. Heath Shuler, nice enough to join us, former Tennessee quarterback. And Heath, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great, Dave. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Hey, we appreciate it. You're one of my favorites. And when I think Carolina and I think quarterbacking, you're the one. So the Vols looked pretty good on Saturday. Before we talk Nico's performance and Grayson McCall to some extent for NC State, just what did you think about the way that the entire team came out?
Yeah, I think there has been times that the Tennessee teams either got a really good start and then slowed down on the second quarter. But it looked to me like, and obviously, I mean, we played a really good team in their conference, but it's not a Power 5 school. But we didn't have the offsides mistakes. We didn't have a lot of the penalties and the problems and issues. I mean, we played fast, we played hard, and we played as you never play a game mistake free. But we kept the ball away from the defense for the most part. And Nico didn't have a turnover. We didn't fumble the football. We didn't have the offsides. We didn't have the miscommunication. And that's usually that first game worry. From a coach's standpoint, you're really worried about what's going to happen in that first game. How are you going to be able to control the nervousness? Because, I mean, look, everybody gets nervous when you go out to the games. And once a game starts and then you get hit a couple times and then you kind of settle down. But it seemed like the team went fast, played hard, did all the right things, and offensively, defensively. And, I know we want to talk a lot about Nico, but let me tell you what, that defensive front is something special.
Well, and it might be, we can go in that direction. James Pierce, a North Carolina guy. David Hobbs, a North Carolina guy.
Right.
I will tell you what, I don't remember Tennessee's defensive front being that deep in quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, the depth. And then, I think the great thing is, I mean, you got a coaching staff there that's able to, recruit extremely well. But also, get these guys to understand, hey, look, we're going to give you an opportunity. You're going to go in, you're going to play really, really hard, 4 or 5 downs, 6 downs. We're going to trade you out and you're going to be fresh. And, you can just bring another, front 4 in every time. And you're going to get, guys that are fresh legs that can go in and compete at an extremely high level. I think that's beneficial not only now, but once we get deeper into the season and we'll start playing in more SEC teams when things really count. Having that ability to have some depth is really good. And then, heaven forbid an injury happens. But if that does happen, you got guys that can actually step up on that front 7.
I'm going to base this off body language, but the 3 quarterbacks that went out there in high pressure situations early in their career that I thought had the most calm body language would be you, Casey Clausen, and Nico in the times that I've covered. What's the key to having that mindset where you don't because that was his first game in Neyland Stadium. That's a little different than playing Iowa.
Yeah. I think it would, I think having confidence in yourself and your teammates around you is first and foremost. And so I like him to have, that little swagger of confidence, the way he does, the way he carries himself. And I think that has a lot to do with that front offensive line, the way they're able to perform. And I'm sure there's times they're going to be able to get him out of some situations at a young quarterback. We all needed that at that time, right? You had to rely on somebody that you could count on that front, that offensive line to get you out of a bad run or get you into a better, pass protection. I think having those confidence in his offensive line allows him to really focus on the passing game, allows him to really focus on his skill set. And so when you have those things, you can go in, and I think that's the separator between good quarterbacks and great quarterbacks is being able to have that calm demeanor once the game happens, because you spend all that time at practice. You've rehearsed a lot, spring ball, summer, and then fall camp. You've rehearsed a lot. Now it's game time.
The show represented, I want to ask more about Nico. The show represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Other attorneys say they'll go to trial, but they won't. They'll settle for less. banksandjones.com. Heath, when we talk about Nico and his play, you've had some insight because your son, Navy, is part of the quarterback room.
Right.
So people ask me this week and after the bowl game against Iowa, were you surprised about how good he was? But I still, on or off the record, whispers, nothing. I have not heard one even semi-negative thing about him. So I'll be honest with you. I wasn't surprised, and I'm willing to bet you weren't that surprised either.
No, I certainly wasn't. I mean, obviously Navy and Nico are very close. That quarterback room is extremely close. I mean, one of the things that they did during fall camp they brought their blow up mattresses into the meeting room. So they spent the entire time in that quarterback room. And so, when they had a little bit of downtime, yes, they got to watch a movie, but they literally were together. And I think that builds camaraderie, that builds relationships, that builds that leadership, from, not just one player in that quarterback room, but throughout that entire offensive unit. One of the things that I've asked Navy many times, hey, how's Nico doing? And the first thing he said, Dad, he is such a great kid. I mean, he is such a great, he's well grounded. I think family is extremely important to him. I think as he's indicated in a lot of his interviews. And so, he surrounds himself with his family and people that really care about him. And I think that really goes a lot to way Coach Heupel and Coach Halsley has Joey's done a great job, those quarterbacks, and preparing, them to be able to play. And just that mentorship that I think that Coach Halsley puts in that quarterback room, is more valuable than you would ever suspect when it comes to just X's and O's. It's one thing to coach, but it is actually to be a mentor. And I think he's very similar to the way David Cutcliffe was for me and Peyton and T. Martin and a lot of other quarterbacks that played at Tennessee, to be able to, have that mentor in the room, that it's more than just a coach, that's someone that you can count on. And those mentor relationships, are forever lasting. Right. And so I think that probably gives Nico that confidence and the ability to go in and make plays and be more mature than you would expect him to be this early in his career.
Yeah. I know what you think of David Cutcliffe. Yeah. So, and what I think of David Cutcliffe. So that says a lot. He's able to breed that sort of camaraderie. What was the mattress story again? Because so
they instead of going back to their apartments, all the quarterbacks, they just brought their blow up mattresses in, and they it's like Navy said, he'd leave his apartment at 6:30 in the morning, and he'd get back at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. It's because they spent the time there in the quarterback room. They didn't leave the facility. They, on their own, they would spend more time watching film together, watching practice together. And so that to me is that separator of, the relationship that I think that quarterback room has.
Gotcha. So these weren't pulling all-nighters necessarily.
No. Just during the day, because, you're going to still, I will tell you this, they don't do 2 and 3 a days like we did, right? So it's a little bit
not even.
They have it a little easier than we had it, right?
Not even.
And the luxuries that they have, I remember that first year going into the 20-hour rule week, it was like, wow, this is the greatest thing that ever happened to a collegiate athlete, because there was no such thing as 20 hours prior to that. But, all in all, it's going to, it'll help them, and they can count on one another when they're on the sidelines, lean on one another when a question comes up. Because, a quarterback oftentimes is an extension of that coaching staff, what they're able to see on the field, and they can communicate it once they get back to the sidelines, and they huddle up on the sidelines after an offensive series.
What are your thoughts on Grayson McCall? I'm not sure how much you've seen him play, but
I watched him play a lot at Coastal Carolina, with watching App, 2 years there, and watching Grayson McCall. He's got talking about an athletic guy, right? I mean, you can't, he went to Porter Ridge High School there in North Carolina, outside of Charlotte, or Raleigh. Just absolutely athletically can do a lot. He's at Coastal Carolina. He oftentimes there was a few times that he just made some spectacular plays, right? Now he's playing on the big boy level, right? Now you're playing up. And so you got to be able to make those plays. I didn't think he performed very well against, Western Carolina. I watched that game. But that doesn't mean that he can't go out there and just play lights out when he can. I think he's a really good quarterback. I was really impressed when I watched him play several times at Coastal Carolina. So I think he has a lot of positive attributes when it comes to on the field and how his athletic ability to escape, run the play action. He does really well. The RPOs that they put in, I think they do real well. And he can perform. So we don't want to be off guard when it comes time for him to run the football, because he can escape and get some first downs. And, I think his legs are probably better than his arm, right? I think he runs the ball probably better than he throws it. But I've seen him make some incredible throws along the way. But I've also seen him make a few mistakes along the way too. Sometimes he'll want to force the ball and put it try to force it, and when he can probably just take a check down.
Yeah, his early interception was pretty ugly for a guy that
it was
that much experience. I don't want to be mean.
Had a lot of experience, yeah.
Yeah. So Heath, let me ask you this, because unfair or not, Nico is being discussed among the top Heisman candidates in the nation.
Yeah.
And I've got to vote, and I know it's September, and I don't cast my vote until the day after.
Go ahead and turn that baby in, Dave. Go ahead and turn it in right now.
After all football is played. I mean, I take it all in. But I'm just curious. You finished second. Yeah. So at what point did you start to hear whispers? It wasn't as pervasive because we didn't have social media, but at what point did you hear whispers that it was out there, and how did you keep yourself from thinking about that?
Well, there was some rumbles. You'd watch ESPN and they'd have the Heisman watch, on ESPN after the Friday, after the Saturday night games, that late, roundup of all the scores and highlights. So you got a little bit of that, but it really came down to when I was sitting in Bud Ford's office, signing some autographs for people, and they'd send out the photos and the footballs and things that they would collect. And he said, you got a shot at this, don't you? I said, at what? And so I was kind of oblivious to, what he was really talking about. He said, you got a shot at it. And look, Charlie Ward, well-deserving, couldn't have gone to a better person, played extremely well. But it was one of those years that, you kind of, in the back of your mind, you would think about it a little bit, but you really had to focus on the task at hand and the games, and not let it, kind of interrupt or disrupt your ability to go out and perform and take your focus away from the X's and O's.
I want to get your prediction. I want to remind people to hit like and subscribe. Please turn the notifications on, so we'll have special visits that I love, like this with Heath, and just absolutely love visiting with Heath talking quarterbacks. So how do you see this game shaking out? Do you have a prediction for us?
I think we're going to still be very, very strong defensively, and defense wins championships, right? If we'll continue to protect the football offensively, start back where we left off on our running game. I think our running backs, probably didn't get enough attention, as well as they performed in the game. I thought they played exceptionally well. The patience in the run game was really great. I watched the running backs, kind of take a different demeanor than I had in the years past, and how they were patient. They waited on the blocks. It was almost to me like that they understood the blocking scheme better now than we had in previous years. And I think that's, that means a lot. That means that the players are taking it to that next level of learning what it is to be a tailback in collegiate level. So that to me was a real positive. So as far as the outlook, I think we're going to have a tremendous ability to run the football on Saturday night. And that will put us in a really good, I think we're going to be really strong. I think we'll put 35 plus on the board. I really feel like we're going to be, a real good opportunity. They got a really good, secondary. Matter of fact, Aiden White, their top defensive back, will be a draft pick this coming year. I coached Aiden White in the secondary. I've coached him, I think, since he was 8 or 9 years old, 10 years old. He and Navy roomed together every fall camp, and they were captains of the team. His senior year, played at Christ School. And so, it's always great to, to be able to see him go out and perform. And, it's one of those things, perform every game except for this one. Right. But he's very competitive. And so I would just be cautious throwing toward him. He's really good. Aiden White's a really good defensive back. So I'd pick on the other side if I was the quarterbacks.
I'll say this. You changed me. Because I was a lifelong Cowboys fan, but when you played for the Redskins, I was like, I'd rather things go well for Heath. And I've got a Cowboys mug right behind me, but I was serious. And that from then on, I just found myself rooting for people more than teams in the
That's
end.
Right. Yeah. I do that in the league now. I played for 3 different teams, and so it was like, who do I pull for? I pull for the players.
Yep.
I still pull for my 3 teams that I played for, but I enjoy the players and how they perform, and to watch their career over time.
Great stuff as always. Heath Shuler. We love visiting with Heath. Heath, thank you very much for making the time. I know you're incredibly busy, so we appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Dave. Greatly appreciate you.